If you want to simplify your entire life, your choices, your relationships, your habits, your boundaries, and even your confidence, you don't need more rules. You don't need a personality overhaul. You need self-respect. Self-respect is the internal voice that says, I matter. My time matters. My peace matters. My standards matter. My future matters. My well-being matters. And once that belief becomes central to your identity, decision-making gets simpler. Not perfect, not effortless, but easier. Because self-respect becomes the compass that points you toward what's good for you and away from what quietly damages you. Here are 9 truths about self-respect that will allow you to create yours. Number 1, self-respect is built, not bought. Self-respect doesn't come from affirmations, confidence, validation, appearance, success, popularity, or attention. Those things can feel good, but they don't create self-respect. Self-respect is earned through action. It grows every time you make a choice in your own favor. When you pause instead of react, walk away instead of chase, think ahead instead of self-sabotage, protect your peace instead of pleasing everyone else. It's not magic, it's accumulation. You build self-respect the same way you build trust, through consistent, self-honoring behavior over time. What makes self-respect confusing is that it looks like confidence from the outside. Some people try to feel their way into it. They wait to believe in themselves before acting in their own favor, but the order is backwards. Psychologically, the brain doesn't form identity from intention. It forms it from evidence. You don't respect yourself because you decided to. You respect yourself because you watched yourself make choices that protected you over and over again. That is why self-respect feels so solid once it's there. It isn't fragile. It isn't mood dependent. It is rooted in memory. You remember how you handled yourself, and your nervous system relaxes because it knows you won't abandon it when things get uncomfortable. Number 2, self-respect is the opposite of self-abandonment. Every time you go against yourself, you chip away at your self-respect. Not all at once, slowly. You say yes when you want to say no, and you feel small and resentful. You tolerate disrespect, and you start to question your own worth. You ignore red flags, and you pay the emotional price later. You choose short-term comfort over long-term peace, and you deal with the regret and stress. Self-respect doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes choice by choice, and it rebuilds exactly the same way, through better choices made consistently. Self-sabotage is rarely dramatic. It's quiet. It shows up as tiny compromises you make just this once, and then again, and again. Each one feels small, but your system is keeping track. Every time you override your own limits, your brain learns a rule. My needs are negotiable. That rule doesn't stay contained to one situation. It leaks into confidence, boundaries, relationships, and decision-making. Rebuilding self-respect is simply reversing the pattern. You stop negotiating against yourself. You choose alignment over approval, and slowly your internal voice gets steadier, not louder, just more trusted. Number 3, your choices teach you how to see yourself. This is one of the most important truths in personal development. You learn your worth by how you treat yourself. When you keep promises to yourself, you see yourself as reliable. When you protect your energy, you see yourself as valuable. When you make responsible choices, you see yourself as capable. When you avoid drama, you see yourself as grounded. When you walk away from chaos, you see yourself as non-reactive. When you speak calmly and intentionally, you see yourself as mature. Every choice sends a message. This is the kind of person I am. And those messages stack, and that stack becomes self-respect. Your self-image isn't shaped by what you say about yourself. It is shaped by how you behave. Your brain is constantly asking, can I rely on this person? And the person it is evaluating is you. When your actions match your values, cognitive load drops. You are not constantly justifying yourself internally. There is no background argument. Things feel cleaner, lighter, more stable. This is why self-respect feels grounding. It reduces internal friction. You stop splitting yourself into who you say you are and who you actually live as. And that integration is deeply stabilizing. Number 4, self-respect makes saying no easy. When you don't respect yourself, saying no feels mean, selfish, or rigid. But when you do respect yourself, no feels obvious. Self-respect creates clarity. I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me. That's not my responsibility. That is not aligned with the life I am building. Self-respect doesn't argue. It doesn't over-explain. It doesn't perform. It simply chooses. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's steady. No is only hard when it threatens your identity. If you believe your value comes from being liked, needed, or agreeable, then saying no feels dangerous. But once self-respect is in place, no stops feeling like rejection and starts feeling protective. You are not trying to control anyone. You are simply telling the truth about your availability, capacity, and priorities. And truth takes far less energy to maintain than performance. This is why self-respect doesn't argue. It doesn't convince. It doesn't over-explain. It just matches behavior with reality and lets the rest fall where it may. Number 5, self-respect makes you immune to manipulation. Manipulation works best when someone doubts their own value. Guilt, pressure, shame, obligation, and chaos all gain traction when self-respect is low. But when you respect yourself, it becomes much harder for people to guilt trip you, override your boundaries, pressure you into decisions, convince you to settle, or pull you into unnecessary drama. Self-respect keeps your emotional doors locked to people who don't treat you well. It doesn't mean you can't be fooled. It means you recover quickly. Your standards come back online fast. Manipulation works by creating internal conflict. Guilt, pressure, obligation, and urgency all rely on doubting yourself long enough to override your judgment. When self-respect is solid, that internal doubt doesn't have much traction. You may still feel uncomfortable, but you don't panic. You don't rush. You don't collapse your standards to relieve the tension. And even if you misstep, recovery is fast. You course correct quickly because your identity pulls you back into alignment. And that's the goal. Not perfection, but rapid self-correction. Number 6, respect stabilizes your emotions. Self-respect creates less anxiety, less overthinking, fewer regrets, less self-doubt, more calm, more confidence, and more trust in yourself. Why? Because you stopped negotiating with yourself. You stopped abandoning yourself. You stopped making choices you know will hurt you later. You stopped tolerating situations that drain you. Your internal world becomes safer. And when your inner world is stable, the outer world becomes much easier to navigate. A lot of emotional volatility isn't about emotions themselves. It's about mistrust. When you don't trust yourself to protect your own well-being, your system stays on edge. Self-respect creates predictability. You know how you will respond when something feels wrong. You know you won't stay silent when it matters. You know you'll walk away if necessary. That predictability signals safety to your nervous system. Anxiety lowers, rumination decreases, emotional reactions soften. Not because life is easier, but because you are steadier. Number 7, self-respect makes the long game feel natural. When you respect yourself, long-term thinking stops feeling like sacrifice. it starts feeling like freedom. You naturally choose better relationships, better habits, better environments, better opportunities, better boundaries, better conversations, and better priorities. Not because you're forcing yourself, but because you understand something fundamental now. Your future matters. Self-respect aligns your choices with the life you want, not the life you're trying to escape from. When self-respect is low, long-term thinking feels like deprivation. When self-respect is high, it feels like care. You are not denying yourself. You are looking out for yourself. You don't have to white-knuckle better choices. They start to feel obvious. Why would you choose something that costs your peace when you know your peace has value? And this is where discipline quietly disappears and alignment takes over. The long game stops being something you force and becomes something you lean into. Number 8, self-respect doesn't make you harsh. Some people confuse self-respect with arrogance or coldness. It isn't. Self-respect isn't rude, defensive, selfish, superior, dismissive, or controlling. Self-respect is clear, calm, grounded, stable, honest, mature, protective. You are not shutting others out. You are refusing to sacrifice yourself for others. Clear people often get mislabeled as cold by those who benefited from their confusion. But clarity isn't cruelty, it's integrity. Self-respect allows you to be kind without being porous, compassionate without being self-sacrificing, open without being exposed. You don't need sharp edges when your center is solid. You simply stand where you stand, calmly, and let others adjust. Number 9, self-respect sets the tone for your life. When self-respect is present, everything else improves. Your relationships get healthier, your decisions get cleaner, your habits get stronger, your environment gets calmer, your boundaries get clearer, your health improves, your peace improves. Self-respect is the root, and everything else grows from it. Self-respect doesn't fix everything overnight, but it recalibrates everything quietly. Decisions get easier to make. Boundaries are consistent, not optional. Relationships either improve or remove themselves. Life becomes less noisy because fewer choices require emotional cleanup. You are not constantly recovering from yourself. And that's the real gift of self-respect. Not confidence for show, but peace you can live inside. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop abandoning who you already are. Self-respect isn't about perfection. It is about alignment. It is about making choices you don't have to apologize to yourself for later. I have linked a companion PDF below to help you identify where your self-respect is growing and where it may be leaking. I will see you in the next one.